Hello everyone, welcome to your next CSS tutorial. In the last tutorial we did some beautiful stuff, and then in this tutorial we are going to look at how to style input forms. Remember in HTML we treated forms, a topic we called forms, and right now I'll clear up my body, everything within the body tag, then I'll start typing. Alright, so we'll create a form and see how we can style it. Inside our form we'll have an input and call it type equal to text and value. Okay, then we can say a label is email. Okay, we can replicate this and say label is password. Then we go ahead and change this to password. Then we do it one more time for form and say number, say form. Alright, let's go and check. Then we rearrange this to look more properly. Remember, I've removed all this, so refresh. They are in line and they're not looking very interesting. What we can do is just to package everything together, we will put them all in a div. So virtually we have this guy inside a div and this guy inside another div, and we have this guy inside one more div. Okay, so let's see. Looking better, by the way. We'll just separate them and make them look a little better. So we come to our div and say class inputs type. I'm just choosing any class I like. You can name yours anything you like. So we can come here and make sure everyone is here, which means we can now come to our CSS and say, excuse me, let me just delete everything. Okay, so we can come here and say, hey, everything in inputs type. That div we are going to make margin, okay, margin 10 pixels, 10 pixels margin. Then we'll refresh. Alright, it looks a little better right now. So what we're going to do is we'll try and style these guys here. First of all, we'll style the label. All we have here is label here, so we'll style whatever it's inside. So we'll get to our code and say, hey, label should be first of all bold. Anything label should be bold. Remember, label is just a tag. That's why we just wrote it directly. It's just a tag. So we wrote it directly there. Everything in label should be bold. Bold. And the font size should be 30 pixels. And that's pretty large. 20 pixels. Then what else? Color should be somewhere around gray, not 100% black and not 100%, somewhere around here. Okay, so let's refresh and see. So far so good. Oops, we don't need to be bold, and it's too big, 18 pixels. Okay, cool. Then we start treating these boxes. First of all, you want to notice that this guy here is the type is text, this guy is password, this guy is number. So we are going to start trying to pick on these attributes in our form. Remember that this guy is an input tag. So we say everywhere you see an input tag and the type is text, everywhere you see an input tag, first of all, just make sure that the padding, the inside, the padding is 10 pixels on the inside. So we want to pad so that when we write stuff, they will not be close to the border. They will not be very close to the border. So when we refresh, this is what we have. Cool. Alright, the next thing we want to see is, can we change the background of this guy? We can say, hey, input, every time the input type is email, is text. Every time the input type is text, this is what you do. Change the background color to, what color do we pick? Dull green, something really dull. Yeah, something around here, something around here. Okay, cool. Then the next thing we're going to do is change the color of the text to white. Alright, that being settled, I've saved, so we'll come here and refresh. Cool. So hope you get now how to pick the attributes, which means you've already seen this one, which means you can pick this one too, and that will be cool. A programmer should be lazy, so I'll just copy and paste and say, hey, if this guy is password, but don't change the background color until it is clicked. Cool. So until you click this, don't change the background color. So we refresh this background color, but when we click, it's changed. Bang, that's it. This is cool. Yes, as you know, we can do some other cool stuff like curve the borders of this guy. As I've taught you in the previous tutorials, we'll just say, hey, everything inputs, the borders should be curved. Borders should be curved by 10 pixels. Alright, so I refresh, and then there we have it. And the other thing is to put the shadow at the bottom. You can Google it, and a whole lot of stuff you can actually do, a whole lot. And okay, one more input type we're going to check is, I'm going to remove this guy, I don't like the design. One more input type we're going to check is the text area where people get to write about us. So I will copy this and Ctrl D, and what will happen is right here we'll change this to about me. So the next thing is we are going to put a text area. Okay, text area, and this is where they get to write about them. Refresh. We have a text area. This is what the text area is by default, which means anybody can write anything in it, as many lines as possible. Okay, the thing is, we'll try and style it and do one or two things. First of all, we'll try and make sure that hey, people can't just resize this anyhow. It's going to be a specific size for us. So but before then, we want to put everything here inside a div, so we can give this div a size. We'll say everything, this form, everything here will be inside a div. Everything here will be inside this div. Then I will quickly give this div an ID, and say, hey, div ID, or whatever you want to call yours, so that we can give it a length. So I'll come here and say, hey, div ID, the width is 300 pixels. Alright, so let's refresh, and let's give it a border so everybody will see what's going on there. Border 10 pixels solid, and solid. Alright, so right here we refresh, and so we can see the div. We'll increase the size to where is it? I'll increase the size to 30% of my page width. Instead of pixels, if you want it to be responsive depending on the size of the screen, look at the size of my screen. So if I want it to be responsive depending on the size of my screen, I'll just use percentage instead of pixels. This is 30% of this screen. Alright, so we want this guy to be able to get to this extreme by default, and be able to get to this size by default. So what we'll do is, this guy first will pad in 10 pixels, just to make sure that everything is fine. Pad in 10 pixels, okay. And this div here, text area, this is what we want to. This guy is the text area, so we'll quickly come here and say hello text area. Everything in text area should be of a width 100%. Okay, and it should not be resizable. Nobody has a right to resize our text area. So this is it. We have to make sure that the width gets to this point. Okay, oops, we might have made a mistake somewhere. Okay, right here, it should be 100%, and we refresh. So one thing, it has occupied the length 100%. One thing you have to know about text areas and text boxes is, text boxes have only one line. The user can only write horizontally, but text areas have multiple lines. See what is happening here? Okay, then there is something else we can do in the body here. We can come here in the text area and say, hey, number of rows we want is 5 rows. Then we'll come and refresh. It means that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows at a stretch, as you can see. Another way we can do it is to come to the CSS and give it a height and say, hey, this is height is 500 pixels. Or let me say 300 pixels. That will be height is 200 pixels. Okay, so we come here, refresh, and this is 200 pixels height. Alright, so you can manipulate it. Then the other thing is, what if this div is resizable? How will it affect this guy? So we can say, hey, minimum width. No matter how much you reduce it, this is the where it should stop, is 30%. Then we can say, hey, maximum width again. Maximum width should be 90%. So no matter how much you expand it, it should only stop at 90% of this. That's what we mean. So maximum width always beats the main width. We had width here at 100%, but maximum width had just beat it, as you can see. So if you reduce this, it cannot reduce more than 30%. So we remove the resize, and this is what we have. This little guy here has appeared again. So if we resize, we can only resize to a certain extent. It cannot be less than 30%. Alright, in the next tutorial, see you, and we'll touch other things. Thank you very much.